Earful Tower listeners, let me paint you a picture. Imagine this. I was standing out the front of Le Peloton Cafe, having a coffee. Obviously, we can't go inside the coffee shops. We have to stand outside with it, and we're sort of encouraged not to linger. But I was lingering a little bit, and Paul, the guy that runs the place, was in conversation with a man with an unusual accent. And he said, "Diederick, you got to meet Oliver. Oliver, meet Diederick." And we got chatting. And that is exactly how I met today's guest. Diederick runs Flora Magnifica, which is a florist shop with a difference down on Rue de Turenne. It's at number 19 in the 4th arrondissement. Now, when I say that it is a flower shop with a difference, I'm telling the truth. This place doesn't have a single living flower in there, not even a dead flower. In fact, the whole shop is full of artificial flowers. And they're so beautiful and so convincing that people go in there every single day, Diederick says, and are fooled, basically. But the whole point, of course, isn't to fool people. In fact, I'll let Diederick explain to you what the point of artificial flowers are, but I can tell you this, from my perspective, they are stunning. And he's got a cool story and a cool background. He's Dutch. You'll figure out more about that in a second. But we have a wide-ranging conversation about Paris, bicycles, flowers, flowery villages around France, and a whole lot more. Now, before we get into the episode, I want to say this show is not sponsored. This isn't one of those podcasts with annoying ads. Don't worry about it. But I will say this. Patreon is the website where you can become a member of this site. And my little brother Eddie has put together a beautiful scroll to go with this episode for members. Everything that is mentioned is in the scroll, including those flowery villages. But also, if you want to help out Diederick, as he says in the show, he ships around the whole world, floramagnifica.com. He also said that he would give Earful Tower listeners 10% off any of their purchases. All you have to do is enter the code EarfulFlowers. Let me be clear with you guys, I'm not taking any cut here. This isn't my way of skimming profits. I'm trying to help a small business as well. And if a discount is a way to get you into his shop or onto his website, that makes me happy too. A happy guest on the Eiffel Tower makes for a happy podcaster too. So there you go. There's the pitch. Flora Magnifica. Now I want you to picture that we're both sitting in his office and shop front in the Marais. People are walking past. It's a beautiful day. Beautiful flowers everywhere. And if you close your eyes for a second and imagine, you might feel like you're in there with us. Let's get into it. Diederick, thank you for letting me into your studio.
Oh, well, it's a pleasure, Oliver. How wonderful to have you here.
Let's paint the picture for the people sitting at home or driving or whatever they're doing. They are not in as colorful place as we are right now. Almost statistically, that's an impossibility.
Well, yeah, if you can beat acres of fields of flowering flowers and concentrated in 13 square meters in Paris, then that's going to be hard.
I think there's no one at home who is sitting in acres of field. But if you are, send in a message. I want to see if we can compete here. But to paint the picture, we've got how many different flowers around us in 13 meters squared here?
I think I've got around 300 different flowers in my shop.
Wow. And you said to me the other day there's usually more on the walls and so on?
Yeah, I have. There's also plants and trees for interiors. Mm-hmm. Some of them have been sold now, so it feels a little naked to me even. But you know what? As we see all these people come past, there are often also children, and they just see this fairyland cascade of flowers inside, and they just stop and gawk, and their nunu, their au pair, can't pull them from the window. Yeah. And I just find that amazing.
I guess so obviously you're the expert, but this would differ to a typical florist in that you have all the different flowers whenever in the year, right? Whereas a typical Parisian florist can only have what's in season in Europe. Is that how it works? I mean,
yeah, I think a typical florist with natural flowers would have the flowers of the season, plus, and you see that more and more, unfortunately, flowers from out of season flown in from all over the world. And the difference with them is that I have flowers of all year round, but they're not natural. They look natural, they feel natural, but they're not natural.
And for the Australian listeners, I've already noticed there are at least there's a handful of Australian. You're smiling. Your wife is Australian, right?
That's right.
Is that why you did it?
No, because no, it's not because she's Australian, but maybe because I've been to Australia a few times and been struck by the nature that I have feel attracted because of its sauvageness, its wildness of the vegetation, and you don't see much of that here. So this helps me surprise people with other vegetations, other flowers, and mixed into bouquets with flowers that they typically choose. It gives a whole new dimension. So we're marrying French with Australian.
I love it. And the Australian ones specifically, I saw kangaroo paw. There's eucalyptus leaves. What else is?
Well, there's a lot of different eucalyptus products. There's the leaves. There's the blossoms. There's the fruit. There's eucalyptus is such a vast family of flowers. Even mimosa is considered a eucalyptus plant come from Australia.
Let's. I want to get into the whole idea of these kind of, like, you don't say, what's the word to describe the flowers? I know in French it's en tissu, right?
Well, the French would naturally say fleurs artificielles, artificial flowers, but I hate that term.
Okay.
And it has a really negative connotation in France as well, historically.
What do you mean? Why?
Fleurs artificielles is seen as flowers that are plastic and attract dust. And you'd find them at your grandmother's place or on the cemetery.
Right.
And they turn blue and discolor quickly, and they're ugly. Whereas my flowers, I wanted to differentiate the name so that also you see there's a difference in quality. My flowers are not plasticky; they're fabricy, and they can even feel real. And so I talk about fleurs en tissu, flowers of tissue, textile.
See, I thought that was what they were called just by looking at your sign. I tried to jump the gun there. So that's your. Yeah. You've come, and we're looking at the sign up on the wall.
Yeah.
Fleur en tissu is your. So EN space TISSU for you guys googling it perhaps. So, okay, so you want to get away from that artificial thing because this isn't the same as those fake ones that people might be thinking about.
Yeah, well, they are fake flowers. They are silk flowers. The English call them faux fleurs. Or
hang on, the English call them faux fleurs?
Yes.
The English is a French word? Oh my gosh. So the French people should be calling them fake flowers then if everything's all higgledy-piggledy.
Yeah. We have, that's it. Faux flowers.
Okay, I want to get into the story. That's like I want to get into all that and so on. But first, I want to rewind and talk about who you are to give people a better sense of who they're listening to. I'm personally excited because you are Dutch.
I'm Dutch, but I don't feel that Dutch anymore.
Well, I'm less excited then.
No, I'm sorry, but do you have Dutch listeners?
Yeah, absolutely. Funny that you say that because I look at the stats on this show sometimes to see where people are from, and maybe people at home will be interested to hear this. It goes basically America, Australia, France, England, Canada. Maybe Canada and England are switched. And then the next 5 are all nearby neighbours, including Holland. Or the Netherlands, perhaps.
Amazing, well done.
So there are actually listeners there. Maybe you could say something in Dutch to them.
Yes, I'd love to. Mijn vrienden in het noorden, Nederland en ook in
You're not really Dutch at all.
It's been a while. I don't speak Dutch that often anymore.
I can get it. Go on.
Ik zend jullie een hartelijke groet vanuit Parijs. En het zou fantastisch zijn om jullie een keer hier in de winkel te zien. Zodat ik ook weer eens Nederlands kan praten.
Oh, wow, that was harder than I thought it would.
I'm sorry. Well, I basically invited your friends, your listeners in Holland, and also the Flemish part of Belgium to come by. I sent them a greeting and also invited them to come by so that I can speak Dutch with them.
Oh, how lovely.
Yes.
And you've been in Paris for a bunch of years.
I was born in The Hague. My family went for 10 years. We lived abroad in Africa and mainly in Asia. That's 10 years. 15 years in Holland. And now 25 years in Paris already. I can't believe it.
So you're like a lifer then, basically. You're here for life.
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah. Well, no, there's always still an Australia on the horizon. Next step.
And just for my sake, you must speak. There's at least 3 languages there that you've got.
Yeah, well, I consider English and Dutch my maternal languages, is what they say, and French, because I have children who speak French all day, and I work in a French environment now.
Yeah.
that's rubbed off too. So I can
Trilingual.
practically trilingual.
Yeah, okay, that's exciting. So let's bring it back to the shop, and I think people at home maybe have heard the sound of women, maybe men in high heels walking past. I certainly heard it. To paint the picture of where we are, I assume Place de Vosges is right behind that building.
Yeah, so when I sit in my shop and look out through the window, I see a French garden, the hedges all manicured, and then the red bricks of the Place de Vosges.
Mm-hmm.
The Place de Vosges, that's the back of the Place de Vosges.
Yeah.
So the Place de Vosges is the most beautiful square in France, and or in Paris anyway, is a red bricked place, and I look through an archway onto the back of it, and so it attracts many people, this area, and because we're in the Marais, in the 4th arrondissement of Paris, there's a lot of creativity and cultural enterprise here, and also a lot of fashion, and around the fashion weeks, which is twice every year normally. It's amazing the people I see parade past my window dressed in all sorts of...
This is like a big TV for you there.
Yeah, and it's wonderful.
Because the whole wall is a window. And I'm going to add pictures.
Is a window, yeah.
Yeah. And so you just get to watch the pretty young things and older things sometimes.
And what's great is if you can make them stop and turn into your shop, then you can have a closer look at them, and they're having a closer look at my flowers.
What's even better than that is when the photographers follow them around, right? Yeah. So if you can get them to stop at your window, and then the 50 paparazzi, or not paparazzi, the fashion photographers, take pictures of them with your store in the background. That's the dream.
Let's organize that.
We're also on. Maybe the way to organize it is you wear really eccentric clothes, and you just stand out the front, and people
outflower my flowers.
And I'm going to get deep into flowers in a second, but also I want to mention we're on Rue de Turenne. Is it Rue de Turenne or just
Rue de Turenne?
I've ranked this before and I've changed my mind, but I've ranked this before as the best street for doors in Paris, but it's not. It's the second best. Rue Varenne.
Yeah.
Or Grenelle.
Prime Ministers, yeah.
It's Varenne, or I can't even remember anymore.
Rue de Varenne?
Yeah, it's that one. That one.
Yeah,
it's the best for doors. But this is, for the Marais, this is the winner, because the further you go north, they just all get amazing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you, after 25 years in France, do you still... or did you ever appreciate that kind of stuff, or do you find that as a European that maybe...
When I arrived in Paris, I wanted to become French as quickly as possible. I mean, I think everyone wants that when they arrive here. And so I got a PX, a Vespa PX, and started scootering around. My life was on a scooter, and it was just so amazing. I mean, to be able to scooter around in Paris, no roof over you, and just see all the buildings around you and the detail. And just have that feeling of you're in your 20s, Paris on a scooter is just too great. Your girlfriend on the back.
Yeah. This sounds like my story a little bit.
Oh, well, there you go.
I can follow your career path. I'm going to end up in...
You're going to end up with a flower shop.
Wow.
Anyway, and then I started getting on a bicycle. Because Paris is becoming really bicycle friendly now. It's amazing. For a Dutchman, I try to promote that as much as possible as well, because it just completely changes the vibe of a city. The whole social interaction changes when you get people on a bicycle.
Because maybe some people don't know, but the Netherlands is famous for being cycle mad, right?
It's a flat country, so everyone bicycles, and it's not like it's been like that for centuries, but in the 60s it was really pushed, and then it took off, and Denmark, and now I feel Paris is really trying to become a bicycle capital of the world, and they're well on their way to do so, especially with the recent events that have accelerated that.
It feels like during the lockdown that everyone was in their homes for 2 months. We came out, the roads had suddenly turned into bike lanes. Had you noticed that?
Yeah, of course. It was a bit messy, but it's all going in the right direction. It's wonderful. Yeah. And the more women you get onto bicycles, the more children will get on the bicycles, and then finally all the men will get on bicycles.
Is that how it happened?
That's how I feel. That if you can get the women on bicycles, then the rest will follow. Because men, they always think, oh, I have to go to work, I have to go fast, I'll be sweaty when I get there and all that. So they avoid it. But if you can get women on bicycles, then I think we're set. And then we have a woman mayor.
Yep.
So it's wonderful. I think Paris, as a city, it's the capital of the world. It's what attracted me and my wife anyway in the first place here. But it's also a city which is a really on a human scale. You can walk anywhere. You can bicycle anywhere. You know your areas. There's everyone. You can bump into people you know. That's really great as a capital of the world. I think that's fantastic. And there's tons of international people as well. So it's brilliant.
Paris is famously a city for walking. Like you say, people are flâneurs over being cyclists maybe. But when I lived in the 7th arrondissement during the summer for a couple of months, and I got a bike from the guys at the Peloton actually, and I cycled slowly everywhere during the summer and became a flâniste. I made that word up. Have you heard that before? Flâniste?
No, it's flâneur, flâniste.
A cycliste flâneur, right?
Okay,
And it was such a great way to see the city. Not rushing, because I think a lot of people who cycle are rushing to get places, like you said, in their work clothes or whatever. But I was going slow, the roads were empty anyway, the big boulevards in the 7th. Life-changing moment.
And now, you were talking about the doors. My bicycle, my sturdy Dutch Sparta bicycle has broken. The frame is just snapped. So I don't know what's going on. But now I walk. I walk half an hour from my home in the 6e to the Marais, my shop on the Marais, and I come through over the Panthéon and down the 5e, and then across the Ile Saint-Louis, and go into the Marais. And it feels again completely different. The city, it's slowed down even more, and then I see all the details of the doors and all the works on the facade. It's just amazing.
What a commute you have!
Oh no, it's great.
And then you have, what were you going to say?
And then you start hearing the people's discussions and conversations in the streets. And now it's much more French than it ever was because there aren't any tourists. Which is Paris feels nice in a way with. We amongst ourselves in Paris with the French.
This is a historic time.
It's special. It's special.
I want to. This is nice because it brings us back to the flowers from the outside first. Because as you're going around Paris, walking, cycling, and so on, do you think Paris is a flowery city? You know, there are villages around France. I think they're called villages fleuris.
Fleuris, right?
Village, is that what they call them? And they're just for those of you guys who haven't been fortunate enough yet to drive around France and get off the autoroutes, if you go through the villages, you get a sign at the front that says, this is a flowery village, basically.
1-star, 2-star, 3-star flower experience.
And then you get in, and then the city's just, it's like they've gone out of their way to make it flowery. So what's your take on flowers around France and in Paris? Is it a flowery nation?
I think, it's a nation that is bound to its terroir. The terroir is holy for the Frenchman. And part of the terroir is, of course, the nature, the natural produce that you find there. And so flowers are important for the French. So much so that, concerning me, they're not naturally inclined to buy fleurs en tissu, but they want the real thing, much more than any other country around France. Then Paris, walk around Paris, the parks, the streets everywhere. The mairie is looking after the little patches of greenery and making sure it looks nice. They had always nice flower beds. I live at the Jardin Luxembourg, and it's amazing the work the gardeners put into keeping up the flower beds, and it changes every season. They dig it all up and replant. The Jardin Luxembourg is just spectacular.
They put it all in that big building, like a greenhouse.
There's a serre, the greenhouse, where they keep the trees, the
palm trees.
The palm trees and the fruit trees. They're kept in the orangerie. And then they will get wheeled out again when the time is there. And the mayor is also planting more and more trees everywhere in Paris. So it's becoming a greener city as well.
Well, partly for the Olympics, I think partly for her legacy to be the green, literally the green mayor. But I heard that, and I don't even know if this was just a plan or if it was going to happen, but she wanted to reduce the speed on the périphérique ring road that goes around Paris take out like 2 lanes and plant trees down the middle. Did you hear about this?
On the Bay.
Yeah, she wants to slow it down to like 50 kilometers an hour.
Oh wow!
Whenever these things, it's like when the road down by the Seine, the one that flooded on the right bank, got turned from a road into a walking and cycling lane. A lot of people were furious. Like there's feels like this is turning into a podcast about bikes and
I'm
cars.
sorry, no.
It's me, I think. But people are furious, and I think the same thing will happen because the motorists have strong union and they're very interested in driving everywhere. It can be slow to change, but she's really changing the city.
And she should, and I believe firmly that she has the support of the inhabitants of Paris. It's the people from outside of Paris who want to get in with their cars that are anti. So I think she's doing the right thing.
Cool. Okay, let's bring it back to flowers and the room we're sitting in. I want to know how you, because your career isn't in flowers, or wasn't, sorry, in flowers, and then a year and a half ago you got in the thick of it. Is this some sort of long-standing, deep-seated fascination with all things flower, or how did this happen? It doesn't make sense.
It's a culmination of many things in life. I mean, when you start getting to 50 years old and you've been stuck behind a computer screen and living in an inbox all day, you start asking yourself questions. Is this how I want to finish the next 15 years or 20 years? I was brought up in Singapore in a tropical environment, and a bit also in South Africa, and that leaves an imprint on you. And from in that period, we'd often make trips to Europe to visit family, and I'd be blown away by the colourful gardens in Holland and elsewhere in Europe, and. I was running around barefoot in Singapore. Singapore is no longer the same Singapore I knew. It was a post-colonial Singapore when I was living there, and also at the time, via there were people that my parents knew who had set up a line of silk flowers in Hong Kong, and by chance I became very good friends with them again when I got back to Holland. And then also the situation in Paris here, having lived here for a good 10 years, you look around you and it's in the florist, the flowers are getting more expensive, the flowers wilt even more quickly. It's the same flowers everywhere. There's these chains of flower shops that have these pre-made bouquets everywhere, and it's like quite boring. But then, I thought I need to do something creative again, and I wanted, and it also pairs with everyone's natural desire to do something natural again. People going to doing pottery again, ceramics, getting their hands into earth again, getting back on a bicycle, walking. Flowers, a floral trend has taken off in the last couple of years. It's unbelievable. So it's all back to nature kind of thing again. We're overrun by the digital world. And the speed of that comes along with it. We want to slow down. So all that got me summed up to me. Okay, I want to do something floral, and I need to do something surprising. I don't see myself going to Rungis, which is the wholesale area outside of Paris. Every morning to buy fresh flowers and hands in water all day, and it's tough to be a florist. And it's a tough occupation, I think. And so I started to look at artificial flowers, by which I was already quite amazed. But then I started digging into who makes these artificial flowers, and I came across a couple of potential suppliers who had amazing quality of flowers. It wasn't at all the plastic flowers we see everywhere, or even the big Swedish company that is pushing enormously with artificial flowers. It's not that at all. It's much more natural. It's beautiful. And so I thought, to test if I have any talent at all in making a nice bouquet, I'm just going to buy a few of those flowers, those high-end flowers, and make a bouquet. And I I went to the street with my vase and my flowers popping out, and walked around the CZM, the art gallery area, and wondering if I would get any reaction. And immediately I saw, walking over the sidewalk, all these usually downward expressions on people's faces. Yeah. Suddenly the smiles started appearing. I thought, God, there must be something here.
How big was this vase full of flowers? I mean, how many flowers?
It's kind of like, like half a meter high.
Right.
Oh,
So you were out to impress. You were doing.
I was out to see what the reaction would be
Yeah.
and to try and impress.
Yeah.
But you know what? In that same afternoon, I got 2 art galleries who offered me to exhibit in their spaces. I was like, what is this? How does
What do you
this
mean?
work?
They said, "Can you
Yeah,
exhibit?"
no.
your
Well,
flowers?"
my phone rings. It's my wife. I put the vase on the floor in front of a shop. It turned out to be a gallery. I hang up, and in the meantime, the owner or the manager of the gallery comes out and says, "These flowers, you made these?" I said, "Yeah." He says, "Wow, they're amazing." I said, "Yeah, and they're fake." "What? They're fake?" And they go, "Wow. Can we organize an exposition here?" So I had 2 offers.
What was in the vase?
So that's how I started.
I need a picture. What was in that original vase?
I really don't remember. I was like, very floral. Mixed
Sort
in.
of like what we're looking at now. The
Yeah, and sometimes I mix in natural branches. You know, dried branches. After a storm, branches fall down in the parks in Paris. I go out and find them and take the leaves off and leave them to dry a bit, and then I use that as a base for my bouquets. So it's kind of like a mix of natural and en tissu.
Yeah.
Anyway, so from there I started making the exhibit. I had that show in the Negro Pontus Gallery, and then I got all these clientèle aisée from the neighborhood who ordered compositions sur mesure, bespoke compositions. And I saw interiors. I couldn't believe my eyes. It was so amazing. I have flowers now under a Degas painting and things like that. It's like insane.
What do you mean? So when you make the bouquet for the people?
Yeah, I go there. I talk to them. I look at where it's going to be placed, what vase we have, and then I go back and make a composition and I deliver. And
next time you go into a really fancy apartment,
you want to come along?
I'll be your photographer or something because I love getting into.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. And across here, I have a number of clients here in the Place de Vosges. Those spaces.
So you've been in some of those apartments?
Yeah.
And what are they like?
Enormous, but some of them have been changed. The style has been completely changed. It's no longer the authenticity that you would expect. But anyway,
I don't know what I expect with those places. They're like
some of them become really. The interior has been ripped out and it's become completely modernized, which I'm not a fan of. Because and others have been left in their jus. Left as they were in the old style.
In their juice. We learned that phrase on this podcast a while ago. Yeah, okay. But that leads you, I suppose, to be sitting in this room with celebrities who I understand you're not going to name coming in to get your work.
No, it turns out that in the Marais you can bump into a lot of celebrities. Yeah. But the thing is, I'm not a French person, and so I don't recognize them. I have no idea.
But so what? Do you never find out? You don't
know. No, yeah. Well, sometimes you, when they pay, they take their credit card out, or they sign up for my newsletter and they leave their name.
Sure. Emmanuel Macron.
Yeah, or whatever. And
or whatever.
And well, who's Macron? And then I go home and my kids are, did you sell well? Yeah, it was all right. I mean, I had a few people in and who? Oh, whatever. And they'll go, that one's famous, and this and that. Yeah. But it's not only famous people, it's also interesting people, intellectuals. It is amazing. And I get into all kinds of conversations, and that's one half of the joy of doing what I do now. Is one half it's the creativity and the working with the flowers, and in the other half it's just meeting people and talking to them and hearing their stories and sharing stuff. And many come back. It's really nice.
It's funny. I can relate to that 100% because that's the same with my job. Is sometimes I get to talk to all kinds of people of all sort of different walks of life. Like who would have thought that I'd be sitting talking with you this morning? But that's kind of the beauty of Paris, isn't it?
It's amazing. I love it. Different
people at every corner. And for the people listening at home thinking that you want to come into Paris, maybe buy a flower or two, or even say hello, you're quite open to chatting, I understand.
Chatting
with people who come in.
Yeah. We'll talk about things you could do or things you want to know about. I feel half French nowadays, so there's stuff I can share.
And what about if people are to buy your flowers? can you organize to ship them around the world during pandemics, or is it?
Yeah. So, I set it up in a way. I had my website up straight away from the beginning. I had a website. I was quite surprised that when the pandemic happened and the shutdown happened, lots of retailers didn't have websites, so they had to set up websites quickly. But it's a website doesn't work straight away. It takes a lot of time. So I was lucky and fortunate that I already had a website up and running, and so people have been buying from abroad, and it works quite well. I mean, I put them in a really beautiful box and wrap them nicely, and off it goes, and it always arrives in a perfect shape. It's not a real flower, so it doesn't wilt. But what also people do is they take a photo of their vase in their home, and they send me the photo, and say what kind of colors they would want, or what kind of, if they have a particular flower they want, and then I make a bouquet. And I send photos back, and I ask them, is this okay? Is this what you're thinking? And then when we agree, this is exactly what they want, I put it in a beautiful box with a ribbon around it and send it to them. And then I receive a photo of my bouquet in their vase in their house, and it looks great.
Under an original Picasso painting.
Yeah, well.
We're running out of time quickly, so I want to end on something I used to do all the time but haven't done for a while. It's called the quickfire round. Unscripted. You have no time to think about it. You have to answer the first thing that comes into your head, and short answers, as time is against us, okay?
Yikes.
Okay, here we go. Starting easy. Ultimate favorite flower?
That's not easy at all.
Yeah, but it's a one-word answer in that it's easy.
Peony?
Peony, yeah. Well, that's closest to us. Best garden or park in Paris to find natural flowers?
To find natural flowers?
Yeah, just to find what's going on there.
Le Jardin des Plantes, le 5e.
Okay, your favorite district for going for a walk in Paris, arrondissement?
6e.
6e, yep. Why?
A mix of interesting places and enough space and greenery.
Yep. Any tips for people who've already visited your shop but want to see something in the Marais?
Well, you go to the Picasso Museum around the corner, and the Musée Carnavalet, which is opening.
Soon to be open again,
Yeah, reopening. And then there's the Beaubourg, which is closing again.
Okay, so museums. And last question to finish on.
And all the cafes, of course, and the shops, the creative shops. It's teeming of cool, young creativity in this area. You just go walk in any direction. It's amazing.
That leads me perfectly to the final question, which is, as soon as everything's back 100% to normal in Paris, is there something you've been craving to do that you can't wait to do again?
Well, you know what it is. I mean, life is practically normal here. I mean, we're allowed to go out and do things. Yeah, cafes, of course. Yeah, go to a cafe or sit on a terrace and just observe Parisians and chat to people much more.
Also, doing it without having to do it through a mask will be something.
Yeah, exactly, of course.
But in the meantime, you've got the perfect place to people watch through your lovely window and the opportunity to meet people. So. Yes. I will wish you continued luck with that. And
it's great fun. Thank you very much, Oliver, for this opportunity to talk to you.
It's great, and I'm very honoured to have a Dutchman on the show.
Yeah, and you'll meet other people too. It's been lovely meeting you, and also your wife I met the other day. So that's great.
Great. Well, here's to more bouquets of flowers. And good times in the Marais.
A floral life in Paris. There you go.
Lovely.
There you go, guys. As I said, floramagnifica.com. I'll spell it for you, but it is in the show notes. FLORAMAGNIFICA. That was Diederick. Go and say hello to him. Or even better, buy some flowers. Support a small business that stayed open during these turbulent Paris times. Otherwise, I'm going to keep it short because it was a longer episode. A huge thanks to all the people who went and left animal emojis on the Instagram posts. As I suggested, there were some really fun ones. You guys made me laugh. A special fan of course, OFC with a horse next to it. which was sent in by Jim in Australia. They were a lot more fun, but it's actually quite fun to go through, read those comments. So check that out. If you're a Patreon supporter on patreon.com/the-earful-tower, you hopefully watched my big walk just 2 days ago. On Saturday afternoon, I traced the Philippe Auguste wall on the left bank. It was a lot of fun. If you haven't signed up, you missed it, but the replay is there. What are you waiting for, guys? Check it out. That'll do for me. I'll be back next week with another episode. Merci beaucoup, and au revoir.
I don't really know where we are. I just wanna look at